As the new year is upon us, I thought it would be useful to give you a bird's eye view of how we're running our production company and the model that we use to not only generate income but also to work on the feature film projects that we want to work on. So I know there's been a bit of talk recently about the role of a creative producer, a filmmaker, an independent production company in this new streaming economy, and how producers or makers of films can actually survive in this new economy. So what I wanted to do is really show you how we're doing it, and this is a model that we've developed over a couple of years now. So having seen the changes that were happening in the industry, and also making some mistakes along the way, this is something that we've landed on, and so I thought it would be useful to show you what that is. So basically the way that we do it is we have a product engine, which you can see here. So we have products that we use to essentially generate an income. And that income then allows us to spend time, spend resources developing feature film projects, which then get financed and go into production. And we really take that famous quote by Disney, we don't make films to make money, we make money to make films. And I think this model is a really good way to take that and apply it to the current economy. So let's take you through it step by step. So first thing that we've got over here is just our traffic engine. So how do we actually get customers? So there's three ways that we do it. We run YouTube ads, we have a YouTube channel, and we have an email list. And these three things all work together. So you can see our YouTube ads generates opt-ins, which builds an email list, which we can send to our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel also builds our email list, and all three of these drive traffic to our websites. So why YouTube? Couple reasons. YouTube is it's search-based, so it's really good for knowledge. If you're teaching something or you're trying to impart knowledge, YouTube's a great way to use that. To do that because of the search and intent kind of aspect of it, right? People are going there to find something. It's owned by Google, so it's probably not going anywhere, and I think it's going to be a little bit more protected than some of the other social media platforms like Twitter, for example. I think it's much more stable than those other platforms, even like Facebook, because it's less like peer-to-peer. You don't have the problems that you have on the other social media platforms. So I think it's just like much more reliable. And also it's great because you have ads and organic both in one. And then the email list, that's really where I think like an important part of this new model exists. And I'm going to take you through that later. But essentially, if you can build your own audience, then that's going to create a level of like security for you, and also leverage for you. So if you have a big audience, you're going to be able to leverage that with the deals that you're making, and you're going to be able to leverage it for any kind of products or services that you offer. And obviously, again, the best example of this is Tyler Perry, right? Like, he's got a massive email list that he built up over like 10 years. And so when he releases a new movie or a new series, that list is hungry for it, and it drives traffic there. And that allowed him to really create some very good deals with distributors when he was first getting started. So that's the traffic. Then we've got a simple website and a funnel. So if you don't know what a funnel is, it's basically just a number of steps that a potential lead can go through to then take some sort of action. So with us, they go through the funnel, they book a call with us, and then we got on the phone with them and see if they're a good fit for what we offer. So again, it's really quite simple. These websites are only like 2 or 3 pages each, maybe 3 or 4 each. They just state what we do, keeps it very simple, very clean. And then that gets us to the product engine. So at this point, we have one service that we offer at the moment. There's a front-end cost and then a back-end performance fee that's tied to the work that we do. And so I like this model because A, it means that we have skin in the game and we're incentivized to perform, right, to actually achieve what we're trying to achieve. But the front end's great because that allows us to essentially just like cover the costs of the service that we're providing, cover the acquisition costs of the ads, and keep that model going. So that's how we do it there. So this here is essentially the service business that we run. And then what we do with that is we take that over here and we use that to, like I said, invest time, resources into the project. So right now, we keep our film slate really quite small. Right now we've just delivered 3 films recently. We've got 1 film in development. This is an adaptation of a children's novel. We've got a couple of other films that we're looking at, but nothing that we've committed to yet or that's really materialized. This might end up being 1 to 2 projects, but we did 3 films in 1 year recently and it was just too much, right? So we think 1 or 2 is the right balance. So you've got to have your projects, you've got your business, you've got your projects. Down here we've got our team. So the team's small, it's me and Tessa. We've been working together for a few years now. My role in the business side is very much like sales and marketing focused. On the production side, it's more like finance and legal. Tessa's more day-to-day operating on both sides. So with the business, it's a day-to-day. And then with the productions, it's almost like a head of production role. So that's how we manage those projects. And then obviously we bring in other contractors when we need them. And when the film gets financed and goes into production, that team scales up. And just on that means that our overheads can stay quite low as we're making these projects. And I think that's really important because, again, in the kind of streaming age, where if you don't have the ability to have a box office hit in the way that you used to, those box office hits would have really sustained producers for a number of years as they were working on the next film. So if that revenue has now disappeared, then A, you need to replace the income, but B, you need to keep your overheads low as you're going from project to project. And so in order to get these films made, we really rely on 3 sources of finance: private equity, tax incentives, and distribution. So by distribution, I mean sales agent and or distribution advances. And really, each of our finance plans is a combination of these 3 things. There might be some soft money in there, given a lot of the films are in Australia that we lead produce, but that will only typically account for about 5% of the finance. So these 3 here is really the core of what we do. And we really just focus on getting better and better at each of these things. And then we have a network, and I'd say this is one of the most important pieces of the whole puzzle. So there's us in here, but then we're in constant contact with our lawyer, with our accountant, with our lender, so with our financier, anyone that's that we're borrowing money from to cash flow tax incentives or sales agent advances, and the insurer. And these, especially these 3 here, lawyer, accountant, lender, they're almost like mentors to us. We learn so much from them, and the business can really only operate because of the relationship that we have with these 3 people. So that's a really important part of this overall picture. And then outside of that, it's, we have the relationship with festival selectors, sales agents, publicists, distributors. So anytime we have a film that we want to pitch, we can do that easily with these 2. If we have a finished film, we know the festival selectors that we need to go to. And when the film's getting released, we have the publicists there to help promote it. So really, when you look at it like this from that bird's eye view, it's a really simple, efficient way of being able to A, work in the film industry, B, generate an income, C, work on other people's projects, and then ultimately work on your own projects and keep the whole system nice and clean. So, it wasn't always like that. There were a few stages of evolution that we needed to go through in order to get to this point. And so I'm going to take you through what those are now so that you can get an understanding of really how we got there. So like most filmmakers, we started on micro budget feature films. So that was budgets anywhere from, in our case, it was about 50 to 60K to 140K. But the problem with making those types of films that we found, and anyone that's made them has probably found as well, is that you're self-financing them. And so there's only so many of those that you can do. But they are a great learning experience. You know, you learn a ton on them. You establish your contacts. And for me, you know, I was working 9 to 5 as a lawyer as I was working on those. And that's really one of the kind of core issues there. It's like your time's really limited, and you're generating an income, usually doing something else. This second stage is really the stage that we're in now, and that we are really comfortable in now and confident in. You know, we're able to just consistently make films now, and we have the business kind of running in a way that is allowing us to do these two things. So that's where you're really making films from 250K to 5 mil. The key here is you're raising third-party finance, because, like I said, you can only self-finance for so long. And so really being able to raise finance from private equity, distributors, tax incentives is the key to unlocking this stage. The great thing is you start building a track record, you start solidifying those relationships, and then you can start generating fees, right? Because of the budget level, the fees that you're generating as a producer or as a director are enough for you to take time away from your usual income generating activities to go and make the film. And then over on the right, I have the mid-budget, which is, you know, when you're working on films 5 mil or more. Again, it's obviously third-party finance, but your track record here is really established. You'd have a longer development period for each of the films, because you'd have more resources to spend on them. And if you're still running your business here, then that business is humming. The alternative here is, I mean, two things. Number one, you have a repeatable model, right? So something like Blumhouse. So rather than just making 5 million plus films, they have a model that they're using. And the other alternative is, you know, you go from low budget films to then working with studios or working with mini majors or working with the streaming platforms. So right now I just want to focus on this stage here, which if you're watching this video, it's likely the stage that you're in. And so there's a few problems that I, you know, ran into as I was going through this stage or getting into this stage. And they were the following. Number one is just like you have limited resources and expertise to develop high quality scripts. So you're not able to spend money on development. Usually you don't have the best screenwriting skills, and the people that you're working with are all also like pretty early on in their career. So their expertise are somewhat limited as well. And the result is sometimes the scripts that you're writing and the films that you're ultimately producing aren't of a really high quality because of that problem. The other one is that film finance isn't a strength. So the budgets still tend to stay on the smaller side. Even if you're in this stage, they might be like 500K to $1 million. And the result of that is that the fees that you're able to generate are also proportionately quite small. Then of course, because of that, time's limited, because you need to generate income, so you're spending a lot of time generating the income instead of making the film. You have a team who's inexperienced, and because the film isn't getting traction, everyone's getting pulled in different directions and doing different things, so it's hard to keep everyone focused. And then if you do kind of go and seek outside input or help, usually you find consultants who specialize in one thing, but there's no like unifying strategy. There's no one that is helping you develop a holistic strategy for the film. You might go get like a line producer, they prepare a budget, but now you got to go get a script consultant, and then you get a finance, like an EP or a finance consultant. Everyone's working differently. Everyone's working in silos, and no one's like these consultants aren't all talking with each other, and so the strategy sometimes is quite fragmented. And so the solution to this that I found is really, you know, number one, engaging with script consultants and creative producers. So this is something that we've, you know, gotten better with over time. It is really bringing in external help to a project. Obviously multiplying the finance. So using tax incentives, private equity, distribution advances to go beyond just self-financing the film, and obviously being able to then raise larger budgets, which lead to larger fees. Ultimately, that leads to getting paid to make the film, building an A-team of collaborators and partners. So going back to the kind of overview that I showed you, that's something that has been, as I mentioned, really crucial to us. Building out that network of people who we can rely on, who we can learn from, who can act as mentors. That's really helped us get to where we are now. And then finally, it is just executing a unifying strategy. So having the skills, having the experience to take on a project, really understand what the strategy is from the get-go. And then when you're working with any of these other people, team members, consultants, you know what the strategy is, and you can really express that to everyone so that everyone understands what you're trying to do with that particular film. So now let me take you through the service that we run. So this is how we generate income through the production company, and it's also how we've looked at solving the problem of that low budget range. So having been through it, we've looked at, well, what are the real problems that we faced, and then how can we offer that to filmmakers who are either in that stage or trying to get into that stage. So this is Fast Track Film Finance. So the best way to make a good film is to really focus on the creative. But in order to focus on the creative, you need time. So the most sacred asset that we all have is time, because it leads to us creating better art or better products. But of course, everyone wants to make a feature film. Like, if you're watching this video, that's obviously why you're here. So what we'll do is we'll finance your film for you in 12 months or less. And that will allow you to focus on making the best film possible. So how will we do it? Well, we'll basically split our work up into 3 stages. Stage 1 is where we're going to prepare everything that we need to go and finance a film. So we'll prepare your screenplay with you and all the assets that you'll need to go and raise finance for your film, for us to raise finance for your film together. And that stage can typically last for between 60 to 90 days. And this is where the unifying strategy is really important, because we will be working with you and we will be the ones that are really driving that strategy and making sure that all the key components are aligned with that strategy. You know, it's not simply creating a budget for you and sending it to you. It's really working with you to finance the project. So in stage 2, we'll go out and attach talent, we'll attach a sales agent, and we'll attach a distributor to the project. We will also launch and run a private equity campaign with you. So what does that look like in practice? Well, it means firstly preparing the legal framework that you will need to go out and raise private equity. It means ensuring that you have all the assets, the pitch structure, everything you need to close, investors that you already have access to or you're already intending to go and pitch. So we use all the material, the experience that we've had pitching to private equity and making sure that you have the best chance of converting the leads you already have, and then helping you identify and uncover more leads to go out and pitch to. And then the final stage, and that stage can run anywhere from really 3 to 9 months. And then the final stage is closing the finance for you. So it's really us being there in the middle, dealing with all the stakeholders, private investors, sales agents, distributors, lender, a bond company if they're involved, and making sure, talent agents as well, making sure everyone is aligned, everyone is on the same page, the finance gets closed, and the money gets transferred to your production account so that you can move the film into pre-production. So that's how it works over a 12-month period. What we would need from you during this period of time is the following. So number 1, just revisions to the screenplay where agreed. So we're not going to force any creative notes on you, but we'll absolutely try and improve the screenplay with you. we would need your creative input with the preparation of the pitch decks that we would put together. We need assistance raising private equity in the way that I just took you through. And really importantly is just an ability to be adaptive to new information and feedback. So if we've taken the film out and it's been pitched to all the sales agents and no one's come on board, or we're getting feedback that the script's not quite there, well, that means we need to go back and work on the screenplay. So if we're getting information from the market or from talent or from wherever it might come from, script consultants, or maybe it's to do with the budget, maybe the budget level is too high, whatever that is, then we all need to be adaptive as that new information comes in so that we can then make tweaks to the project in order to get the film financed. So that's it. That's what we would need. And really the rest of the time you can spend focusing on the creative and on building, the cast, the crew that you want to ultimately make the film. Now, I'll take you through some of the success that we've had as producers. So to date, 90% of the films that we've taken on as producers have been financed, produced, and distributed. We've had films premiere at big festivals like Venice. We have films on streaming platforms like Netflix and Stan in Australia. We've had films released in multiple territories. So we've been able to do this a number of times with the films that we have taken on as producers. And so now we want to go out and work with more filmmakers, take them through this process, and ultimately move more films into production. So what are the next steps from here? Well, number one, review the offer outlined in this video. And if you need to go back and watch it again, I encourage you to do that. But if you've done that and you want to take the next step, then click the schedule a call with our team below button below. So it's on this page. If you simply scroll down, you'll see that. It'll take you to a Calendly page. You'll be able to schedule a one-on-one Zoom call with us. We'll do that call to really get a better understanding of your project, and to also run you through this in a bit more detail. From there, if everyone is happy and kind of we want to keep progressing, then we'll get you to send us all of your materials. So all your creative material, any pitch decks that you have already, your screenplay obviously, and any financial material like a budget, finance plan, or any financial modeling that you've already done. From there, if we think that we can help and it's a good fit for this, then we'll let you know. We'll send you an agreement. You'll be able to review that. We'll go back and forth, sign that off, and then we can get started. So that's it for this one. I hope that gives you a kind of really good idea of firstly how you can set up and run a production company in this new age. How you can make the films that you want to make consistently. And of course, if you do want help making those films, then just head to that button below, schedule a call, and we'd be happy to chat with you further.